It's April. Sorry. It's April. And we all know what April means. Ninjago, baby! The same formula that we've had for the past 4-5 years. Now, hopefully, the episodes end up coming out legally, and then part 2 doesn't come out until September-October window release like it's supposed to be, and doesn't leak within a week of this video coming out. Because surely LEGO would never leak Ninjago. They never do that. That's never happened. I'm sorry, I can't take that seriously. In order to prepare for the new episodes coming out today on Netflix, I want to take a moment to sit down and think about what we have been given so far and how I personally believe it will change everything that we think about elemental powers moving on. Now, I know that is an insane thing to say, but listen, I truly believe that we have been wrong about elemental powers this entire time. I've had to try and record this video for over 3 hours. I've been trying my best. My audio keeps on messing up. I keep on stumbling over my words because I had a script. And I've decided that I'm going to do this unscripted. Like the Danny's World video that I did, because it felt more natural. I wasn't just staring down at my computer like, okay, what do I read next? And then stumbling over my words because I have bad eyesight. It's just easier to just off the cusp just say stuff. So that's what I'm doing. Yay. So the thing that has brought this topic up for me, the reason why I start this discussion, is because of the teaser where Lloyd, Euphrasia, and Eren go to the Whispering Woods and are told by the dragon there that Lloyd has abandoned his duties and let the Whispering Wood down. Now, a lot of people have not taken kindly to this clip. They don't like it. I've seen a lot of people be upset because Lloyd is supposed to be the only one who is the Green Ninja. He's the only one that should have that elemental power, because the entire point since the start of the show is that he is special for this. And I can see where people are coming from. I know why that could be upsetting. I personally believe that this makes sense, because every other elemental power is passed down from person to person. And how would the first Ninjitsu master know about the elemental power that Lloyd would end up getting if he didn't end up in some way witnessing it? My belief is that elemental powers, contrary to the belief that we have had since, season 4, season 5 of Masters of Ninjitsu, are not passed down genetically. They are passed down by will. Just by will. By the will of either the elemental master or by the will of the power. And now I know that sounds ridiculous, but hear me out. I personally, sorry, Kai's not very good at sitting. He kind of has to stand on my lap, but it's okay. You might be asking, why does the teaser about Lloyd not being the only green ninja make me think that elemental powers aren't passed down genetically? Well, good thing you clicked onto this video, because I'm about to explain that! I need to stop bending his limbs. He's like... Sorry for all the Kai fans out there. Since the start of the show, it hasn't exactly been explained where Lloyd's powers come from, what they are. We don't know much of anything about his powers, to be honest. And from everything that we've seen, both in the teasers, in the trailers, all of that, we will be learning more about Lloyd's power. We will learn where it comes from. We will learn all of this stuff. So, before I go watch that, before I see it, I want to make this video. I want to edit it. I want to post it. And I want to be able to have raw speculation, because I feel as though they aren't going to answer every question in the first half of the season. And surely the second half won't get leaked, because the second half of a Ninjago season has never gotten leaked ever. It never happens. That's so insane. Kai, sit up. But throughout the show, it hasn't been explained where Lloyd gets his powers from. It's just been explained that he has them. And I feel as though the assumption about Lloyd having his powers is just, oh, his dad is Garmadon, who is the son of the first Spinjitzu Master, adds up. Okay, that makes sense. The thing is, though, we don't know what Lloyd's powers are, right? We don't know what Lloyd's powers are. And from what we've seen, they don't connect back to Garmadon's powers. Because, remember, the first Spinjitzu Master has the powers of creation and destruction because of the Oni and the dragon. He passed those two powers down to Wu and Garmadon. Wu got creation, Garmadon got destruction. They only really tend to use it later on in the show, and even then it's primarily Garmadon using it. But there isn't really any connection between destruction and green. Insert the movie clip here. Like, nobody knows what Lloyd's powers are. It's not explained what they are, where they came from, and the fandom has had to fill in the blanks. I feel as though this new season will take those blanks and fill them for us. I feel as though they will explain how elemental powers are passed down, and I know this is a lot of speculation, but the thing that I would like to point out is that out of all of the characters that could be in the Whispering Woods with Lloyd are Eren and Euphrasia. And sure, that doesn't seem like much, but you have to remember that both Eren and Euphrasia have connections to Moro. What does Moro have to do with all of this? His powers. Moro, when he died, continued to have his powers until after Day of the Departed. Right? He, as a ghost, had his powers. When every other character who has died, every other elemental master, that has died, passed on their powers to somebody else. Lily died, passed them down to Cole. Libby, we don't know what happened to her, assumedly passed them down to Jay after she died, because I'm going to be honest, I feel as though Libby's dead. I do not believe that Libby is still alive. I believe that she is dead. The beautiful Korean, rest in peace. But when an elemental master has died in the show, every single time, they've shown that the powers continue to go to somebody else. If I remember correctly, Doc Wyatt has said on his Twitter that Ash is dead. So Ash ended up passing down the elemental power of smoke after dying, right? The problem is we do not have any evidence of him being related to Cinder. We just know that Cinder ended up getting his powers and is very good at it. My theory, potentially, this is very far-fetched, is that Cinder and Ash were friends. They were companions. I can imagine that. Because who is a better person to teach you how to use such a difficult power as smoke than the former master of smoke? I believe that before whatever happened to Ash that made him let go of his powers or die, he was helping Cinder with it. I believe that he had full intentions to give Cinder his powers for whatever reason. And I know that that is extremely far-fetched, and only time will tell. Maybe I'm just on a bunch of copium because I love Cinder. He's genuinely one of my favorite new characters. He's great. But the reason why I bring up Moro is because he broke the status quo. Moro died and kept his powers as a ghost, right? I believe that during the merge, because I'll put evidence up on screen if there was any direct evidence of it, but I believe that Euphrasia got her powers either during or shortly after the merge, like a bunch of the other characters, because Sora didn't have her powers while she was in Imperium. She would have accidentally used them. I believe that Sora ended up getting hers after the merge. I believe that Frack got his elemental powers after the merge. All of these characters suddenly getting their powers after the merge, right? I believe that whatever happened in the merge made it so then Moro was able to pass his powers down. I believe that Moro was able to consciously pass his powers down to Euphrasia. I feel as though the Cloud Kingdom is a very important place to Moro. It's one of the places that he, in my opinion, did some of the most bad, that he made corrupt. Because yes, he destroyed Styx with the Preeminent. That's one thing. That's physical damage. The problem is he damaged the system of the Cloud Kingdom. He made the master writer corrupt. He made the master writer go against everything that the Cloud Kingdom believes in. And I feel as though Moro has some very specific guilt about that. Because, yeah, it's one thing to cause a bunch of mass destruction by letting free a giant beast, right? That's one thing. But completely damaging the political system is insane. I feel as though Moro has guilt about that and decided that out of all the places that he could look for the next person to take his powers, it should be the Cloud Kingdom. Because I feel as though Moro, for some reason, was able to see the Cloud Kingdom during the merge. It could be because he felt guilt. It could also be just complete chance. But I believe that if Moro was able to do it consciously, he chose Euphrasia because he knew that she would be a good fit. He knew that she would handle it better than he did. I believe that it was both the guilt and the fact that he knows how humble a lot of the people in the Cloud Kingdom are. People in the Cloud Kingdom are not going to be, me, I'm going to save the day, I'm going to do this. Somebody else can do it. They are taught to be basically passive in every interaction that they have. I believe that Moro was able to see the people. He ended up seeing Euphrasia and chose her because he knew that she would handle his powers much better than he did. Because at the end of the day, Moro's powers made it so that he felt like he was above everybody else. It gave him a complex, and it made it so that he felt he had to prove himself. And I feel as though the fact that Euphrasia, Eren, and Lloyd are all together is very important. Because I feel as though there will be a scene in the new season, in Season 4 of Dragons Rising, where Euphrasia and Lloyd are talking about their powers, and Lloyd brings up how Moro was the former elemental master of wind. Because we've had him, bring up Moro before, but he never said it by name. I believe that this time he will say name. He will say Moro's name. He will bring him up by name. And because Eren is there, and Eren will perk up and put two and two together with the fact that he met a person named Moro in the new Land for the Departed. I apologize, I don't remember what it was called. And that person was one of Sensei Wu's students and mentioned how he wanted to apologize to Sensei Wu, right? I believe that Eren will put the pieces together and be like, I know him! I know Moro! He was at that place that we went when we had to work with the Arc Dragon of Focus. And Lloyd will just turn to him and be like, what? And Eren will start yapping. And they will start talking. And they will end up realizing that Euphrasia and Moro have no connection. They are not related, and they will figure out that elemental powers, contrary to what Garmadon said to them in Season 4, are not passed down by genetics, are not passed down from parent to child. They are passed down by choice. Because, yes, Moro didn't have any family to pass it down to. He was an orphan, and if Wu had any clue about this system, which I feel as though he didn't, he wouldn't have exactly sat the 10-year-old down and be like, so, when you die, we need to think about what will happen. That is a terrible conversation to have with a child, not to mention the fact that Wu was new to being a sensei. Wu, despite all of his shortcomings, and despite how he doesn't explain things that he should, does at the end of the day care for his students. He always has. Is he good at what he does? Not really, but he cares, okay? That is something that needs to be thought about. I personally feel as though Wu and Garmadon assume that elemental powers are passed down genetically because they aren't exactly going to test out their powers being passed down. Obviously, their father, the first Spinjitzu master, would pass down the elements of creation and destruction to them. Obviously, he would do that. He would choose to. But they assumed that it was a birthright, almost. Do you understand what I'm putting down? they have seen through all of the other elemental masters, they have all been passed down from parent to child to the child's child. Benton, Lily, Cole. Other than, oh my god, what was his name? I don't remember his name. It was like Morbius or something. I don't remember his name. I apologize. The only exception that Wu has factually proof in the show seen is the elemental master of ice passing his powers down to Zane, who's a robot. The assumption that I always had as a child, which is most likely the kind of assumption that Wu would have had if he had beliefs that elemental powers are passed down genetically, is that the elemental master of ice gave Zane his DNA. That the elemental master of ice just made Zane his heir by making him like part of his family or something. That has been my assumption. As a child, I assumed, oh yeah, he gave his DNA or something. I don't know. Maybe it was some sort of like My Hero Academia thing. He freaking went, let's see, eat this. Like, you know? The assumption that it's passed down through DNA. But the old man, as we've seen, can be wrong. There's a reason why he has the nickname Captain Dementia. I'm sorry, I love that nickname. The reason why I bring all of this up is because I believe that Lloyd's powers are not from the first Spinjitzu Master. I believe that the first Spinjitzu Master, while he was traveling around with the Realm Crystal, ended up stumbling upon whatever realm the Whispering Woods is in, right? Ended up hearing about this green ninja, and ended up writing the prophecy, right? You picking up what I'm putting down? And I believe that he didn't know who it would be. He just had some sort of premonition. I guess we can add the power of prophecy to the infinity gauntlet of powers that the first Spinjitzu Master has. Another point that I have of why I believe that Wu and Garmadon assume that powers are just passed down genetically is because they have not had to worry about, oh, what happens to my powers after I die? They haven't exactly had the worry of dying. Because of their Oni blood, they have much longer lifespans than everybody around them. I mean, it's one of the most common things that people in the community like to talk about with Lloydings. They all talk about how Zane and Lloyd will outlive the other ninja because of Lloyd's Oni blood, right? You know who else has that Oni blood? Wu and Garmadon. Wu and Garmadon don't exactly think, man, I'm getting kind of old, I'm gonna die soon. No. They don't think about that because they don't have to. They have to worry about the people around them dying, yes, but they don't have to worry about them themselves dying. So I feel as though it hasn't exactly crossed their mind of who gets my powers when I die. I feel as though some evidence for the powers are passed down by choice theory is Kai and Nia's parents. So, in Season 7, it was revealed that Kai and Nia's parents, Wei and Maya, are still alive. They were kidnapped by Acronics and were just missing. They were just in Acronics' little bunker, blacksmithing away, making armor for the Time Prince's army, right? For presumably at least a decade, right? With every other elemental master that we have seen, and that Wu presumably have seen, have all been passed down when the previous elemental master is dead. Now, we don't know if Libby is dead. However, we do know that Lily is dead. Lily has died. Lily is guaranteed to be dead, right? We saw in the flashbacks that she is terminally ill, right? And we know that she dies. Cole quite literally points out how she dies. In Season 10, there is the scene, the flashback, where he's climbing a mountain. Wu asks him why he climbs, and he vents some of his frustration about how his dad continues working and seemingly not caring about his mother recently passing. Zane presumably ended up getting his powers after the old elemental master of ice died. And for a while, it looked like Kai and Nia got their powers after their parents died. Now, if we had to assume, I feel as though it would be very safe to assume that Libby is dead. Because of the relationship that Wu had with her, I feel as though he would be able to be in contact with her with whatever happened. And I know that it's copium. I know that there is not really much of anything to support this, but I truly believe that Libby loved Jay, okay? I believe that she is dead. In some sort of way, she died. Either when Jay was a small child because she died in battle, or because she died in childbirth, something. I don't believe that she purposefully left him. And we know from Cliff Gordon's room that he also loved Jay. He had a secret room in his house where he kept tabs on his son. He bought his son's old suit. He had photos of his son. He was keeping track of him from afar. I believe, my personal opinion, and I know that this is slightly off topic, my personal opinion and belief is that Libby died when Jay was a baby, and stricken by the grief, and of course being busy because he's such a huge star, Cliff Gordon had to find somewhere else to have Jay grow up. He chose Ed and Edna, knowing that Jay would have a nice, humble life where he would be taught by good-meaning people. Maybe, speculation, heavy speculation, he ended up meeting Ed and Edna at some point. Potentially. Maybe he just saw them on the street and just knew that they were a very kind couple. But I believe that either because of the grief, because of his schedule, or a combination of the two, he just could not take care of Jay and ended up giving him to Ed and Edna. I feel when he got past that grief, he would have wanted to talk to Jay again, but knew that he couldn't with how far along it was. Because of how long ago he had given them to Jay, he didn't want Jay to feel like he had been abandoned. He didn't want Jay to feel like he didn't want him. And because Jay didn't know that he was adopted, he stayed away. He kept his distance. He let Jay live his life. He watched from afar, proud of his son. You picking up what I'm putting down? I know it's a lot of copium, and I apologize, but I don't feel as though Libby and Cliff didn't want Jay. I feel that they did, because, let's be so for real, if Libby didn't want Jay, it's one electrical shock. She could quite literally, most likely end the pregnancy with her powers alone. She wanted him. The thing is, though, Ray and Maya are alive. Kai and Nia discover that they have powers while Ray and Maya are alive. Kai and Nia use their powers in the same room as Ray and Maya, but Ray and Maya don't have their powers anymore because Kai and Nia have them. My personal belief is either before they got kidnapped or after they got kidnapped, both Ray and Maya realized that they could pass their powers down to their children and pass them down to them so then they can protect themselves. If it was before they were kidnapped, it would explain why Crux was able to just pull a single katana on them and be like, if you don't come with me, I'm gonna murder your kids. He was not a threat. He had a single katana. He had no army yet. He had nothing. He was a single man with no powers, a fake beard, and a katana. Did he have the power of God and anime on his side? I don't think so. God wouldn't side with him. Anime probably wouldn't side with him. I don't know. It's hard to tell where anime would side. But that would explain that, right? That would explain why they were just like, oh, I'll go with you. I'll go with you. I won't even say bye to my children. I'll just leave them and disappear. That is insane. And we know that Ray and Maya cared for their kids, obviously, with the way that they try to make up for lost time, with the way that they recognize them immediately when they enter the blacksmith shop, with the way that Maya does whatever she can to take care of them, to make up for the time that she wasn't there. Maya does what she can to coddle Kai, to coddle Nia, and to try and build a relationship with them. And I see how it makes sense that two characters cannot have the same elemental power at the same time, but I feel as though that just proves that it was passed down by sheer will. Because yes, you could twist it to be like, well, they hit a certain age, so they got the elemental power. What do we say about the old elemental master of ice then? Did he just never have any family, even at his old age? Did he truly have to seek out Zane? Did he really not have anybody else that he had next of kin? Did he not have, like, any siblings that would have kids? Did he not have any cousins that would have kids? If it follows a bloodline, I'm sure that there is somebody in that bloodline that would have hit that age for Hibernus, or however you pronounce his name, to pass his powers down to. But I believe that he chose Zane. He saw Zane. He met Dr. Julian, right? He met Julian. He saw Zane. Saw how good of a person Zane was. Saw how Dr. Julian was talking about how Zane was built to protect those who cannot protect themselves, and instantly knew, this is the person that I want to give my powers to. This is the person that will use it well, that will protect those who cannot protect themselves. Exactly what he was built to do. I feel as though it's just far too complicated to say it's only passed down through genetics, because who did Moro get it from? Obviously, we don't know anything about Moro's family, but I feel as though Wu would know the elemental master of wind. I feel as though Wu would have been keeping tabs on elemental masters, especially after the war, especially after the Serpentine Wars, and especially after Chen got the elemental masters to turn on each other. I feel as though Wu would keep tabs on them to make sure that they don't go rogue, to make sure that they stay as good people, right? So why would he be so shocked to meet an elemental master of wind? Why would he be so shocked that Moro had power? Why wouldn't he do anything about that? I feel as though Wu has shown to keep great tabs on the elemental masters, both Wu and Garmadon, because in season 4, Garmadon knew every single one of the elemental masters. He knew all of their names, he knew their deal, because Wu and Garmadon have been keeping track of the elemental masters. They keep track of that stuff. They're like, okay, that's the current elemental master of smoke, probably gonna end up going down to that person, yada yada yada, you know? And if both of them are keeping track of this, why would Moro be the only one that slipped through the cracks? Wu kept track of the main 4 ninja so well that he was able to be underwater. He was able to be underwater with a fucking teapot at just the right time to meet Zane. He was sitting at the top of a mountain at just the right time to meet Cole. He was sitting on a rooftop at just the right moment to see Jay Walker slam through a billboard and meet him. Arguably, Kai is the least hard to find, but I feel as though he has been keeping a very good track on elemental masters. And yes, you could say that it's because of Moro that he does that. It's because of Moro that he has gotten so good at it. But I feel as though it is not because of Moro, it is because of the war. It is because of the war with the elemental masters. He didn't want that to happen again because he knew how destructive that could be. So I feel as though whoever Moro's parents were, they did not have the elemental power of wind. Similarly to Moro, I believe that Sora did not get her elemental powers from her parents. Because in my opinion, if either of Sora's parents, or genuinely anybody in Imperium, ended up having the elemental powers of tech before the merge, they would have been taken down to the labs. You know how people joke about how if anybody had actual real supernatural powers, they would get taken by the government? That is quite literally what would happen in Imperium, and it would be even worse with the elemental powers of tech. When Imperium is a very tech-driven city. They want to make the best technological advancements possible. So somebody who is able to use the elemental power of technology is invaluable. You cannot put a price to that. That is the best thing they can get. And if we were following the theory that elemental powers are passed down by choice or they find their own owner, Sora's parents would not give her that power. Neither of them would. When she talks to them again, they still are on the side of the Empress, even as the entire city of Imperium is getting destroyed by Mordecrakes. They do not care. They trust her blindly. They tell Sora, first of all, they dead name her. Second of all, they tell her, you abandoned us. You need to come with us and trust the Empress. They would not give Sora any more power to rebel. Okay? I feel as though Sora, Frack, Wildfire, and Euphrasia all got their powers around the merge. One, because that's very easy to track from a writing perspective, and two, all of the different realms were opened up for the coalescence, right? All of the powers in all of the different realms would be able to freely go and choose the people that they want to, for lack of a better term, find the new host for the powers. I saw in the trailer that we will be getting content of Frack's father, who is in the Explorers Club, right? He doesn't have the best relationship with his father. I personally feel as though his father most likely didn't have the power of Quake, because if he did, you would not hear the end of it from Frack. Frack would have been so excited. Frack and Eren were huge fans of the ninja. They were obsessed with them. Both of them grew up absolutely adoring and idolizing the ninja. I highly doubt that if Frack had a good relationship with his parents would hide that they had elemental powers, right? I feel as though they would be like, yeah, you think the ninja are cool? Can the ninja do this? And then use their powers, you know? Because parents, they want to look cool to their kids. If you have a good relationship with your parents are going to want to look cool, okay? Especially if you're a little kid. And Wildfire, I don't have any evidence of anything for Wildfire, because all we really know is that she has a caregiver bot and she was in the wilderness. I do still really like the theory that she is Kai and Skylar's child. I think that would be very cute. Odd, but cute. Like from the future, that'd be cute. That'd be adorable. Though, honestly, there isn't any evidence for that other than the fact that when she first showed up, people thought that she had the elemental power of fire, and they had to, in the show, have Rontu say, no, you don't even understand your own power? That's not the elemental power of fire. Your power is heat. Go back to training, child. So, to tally up the evidence, we don't know about Wildfire. Frack, I feel as though it's pretty obvious that Frack did not inherit his powers, and I feel as though it's very obvious that Sora did not inherit her powers. What about Euphrasia? Now, we don't know anything about Moro's heritage. We don't know anything about his family. But I'm just going to say, I don't think a 7 to 10-year-old, fell through the eye of Blind Man's Bluff, ended up surviving, getting down that entire mountain, running around to a town, found some other kids, and then hauled his tiny ass all the way up the however many thousand steps to Wu's monastery. Okay? I'm just gonna say it. I don't think he's from the Cloud Kingdom. I do not believe he's from the Cloud Kingdom. I believe his family is just from Ninjago. I feel as though we're not gonna get any information about Moro's heritage unless the heritage ends up being, oh yeah, it's from the Cloud Kingdom. I feel like that's the only time that we will get any information on Moro's family, because it's just not important to the story. And I feel as though if Moro isn't related to Euphrasia in any way, then it's kind of obvious that it was inherited through blood, because they're not related in any way. Like, the odds of somebody going from the Cloud Kingdom to Ninjago, hopping realms before the realm crystal was used, and even then it was barely used. The only people that we have known to use the realm crystal at all, ever, have been the first Spinjitzu Master, Moro, Lloyd, Nauticon, and by proxy, Nauticon's crew. It is not easy before the merge to travel between realms. Why do you think they spent an entire season with the ninja trying to find their way out of the realm of the Oni and the dragon? An entire season of them trying to figure out how to get back home, because it's not easy to travel between realms. Yes, there is specific types of tea that let you travel between realms, but I don't feel as though anyone in the Cloud Kingdom was exactly thinking of, I want to go travel. No, they're very busy with their writing. Writing is a very time-consuming task, and they have been taught, you write. That is all you do. You sit down, you write destiny, you go to sleep, you eat, you repeat. We have not seen them have any hobbies. All of their hobbies was locked in a building with Nimbus. Nimbus had all of the entertainment because the Cloud Monks, they don't have any sources of entertainment. They don't have video games. They don't have shows. They don't have any entertainment other than their work. Their entertainment is writing the destiny of everybody in the other realms. Presumably, if I remember correctly, they focus specifically on the fate of the people in specifically the realm of Ninjago, right? I don't think Moro was a tiny child and decided, I want to go see Ninjago instead of reading about it. Da 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 da. And then just so happened to find a specialized tea to travel to Ninjago? Do you know how far-fetched that is? So, yes, I believe that Euphrasia and Moro have no blood relation. I believe that Moro specifically chose Euphrasia to have these powers because, one, he needs to make up for what he did in the Cloud Kingdom in his head, but also, two, because he sees her as a good fit. The people in the Cloud Kingdom are not egotistical, for the most part. He found the one bad apple there, to be honest. The rest of the people in the Cloud Kingdom are very passive. They are all taught from a young age that they do not act, other people act. They don't act, they write. I feel as though Moro saw Euphrasia, maybe he saw her do something good, okay? Maybe there was something that happened around the merge, perhaps during the merge quakes, Euphrasia ended up saving somebody. And Moro was able to see that and decided, okay, I'm giving her my powers. Or, more climactically, something was happening during the merge, and seeing that Euphrasia was trying desperately to help someone, he gave her his powers. She was able to very quickly help them, and because of the chaos of the merge, she was able to hide her powers. Because we have no information on what it was like when she first discovered that she has powers. We've seen how it is when Sora discovered that she has powers. Wildfire was basically born with her powers. Frack, we haven't been able to see. Euphrasia, we haven't been able to see. I feel as though it could have been in some sort of event. Something chaotic was happening in the Cloud Kingdom. Moro gave Euphrasia his powers and dipped. He went back to being a spirit guide. Now, obviously, time will tell, the new episodes will tell, hopefully, and explain what has been going on with the powers, but I genuinely believe that the powers are all either passed down by choice, or the powers just find a host on their own. But I'm going to be honest, I'm very much leaning more towards the idea that the elemental masters are all able to, at any point in their lives, choose somebody to pass their powers onto. They can't undo it, and they can't have the person just give it back. There's no take-backsies. I believe that once in their life, they have the power, right? They cannot be given it again. They cannot take it. I believe that they are able to pass this power down through whatever means there is for these powers. They're able to pass them down either as they are a spirit, as they are departed, or as they are alive. And I know that that's not what we've thought. I'm sure that that's not what they had intended at the beginning of the show. I'm sure that when season 4 came out, it was fully intended that all elemental powers were hereditary. It was fully intended that all of the characters that have elemental powers got it from their parents who are now deceased, okay? I'm sure that that was the intention at the beginning of the show, but I feel as though with how the show is now, that has changed. I believe that the writers have decided that's not how this system works anymore. We're going to revamp it a bit. And I'm going to be honest, if this is true, if my theory is right, this is pretty good It's actually pretty good. It works. It explains a lot of stuff in the show that honestly has not made sense since the beginning, because I don't feel as though it's something that they've worried about. I feel as though it's kind of been like an afterthought to think about how everybody gets their powers. It's just been, yeah, their parents had it, so they had it. I don't know. It's like Avatar. We don't have to worry about it because the show is only going to be 2 seasons. And then we don't have to worry about it. We're living season to season. The show is only like 5 seasons long. It's not the focus, so we don't need to worry, you know? And now that the show is, gosh, what, season 18? No, oh my, 19. We're on season 19 or 20. Okay, let me do this math real quick. The 10 seasons. And then Forbidden Spinjitzu, Prime Empire, Master of the Mountain, Seabound, Crystallized, 15. 19. This is the 19th season of Ninjago. If you don't count The Island as its own season, and if you don't count Day of the Departed as its own season. If you count those as seasons, 22nd season. That is insane. Wait. No, 21st, my bad. 21st season. If you count the pilot as a season, 22nd season. That is genuinely insane. I feel as though they are very much trying to pay more attention to the lore of the show. They're having all of these stories take longer than just, here's a season, it's going to be a one-off. Most of this won't end up affecting much because it's very much villain of the season. They follow that somewhat because they have to. It is a show. They have to have some sort of conclusion to some sort of plot at the end of each season, right? So the very common thing is to have the villain of the season, to have the MacGuffin of the season. And I feel as though they are very secure in knowing that Ninjago will go on for quite a lot more time. Because, let's be so for real, 15th anniversary, it's still going this strong. Lego's gonna let them keep going. Ninjago was one of the most, if not the most, popular and well-earning original Lego IP. Obviously, Ninjago is not going to outdo stuff like Lego Lord of the Rings, Lego Harry Potter, stuff like that, but it has still done so well for the Lego company. They know better than to cut it off. And I feel as though the writers know that. The writers most likely have been handed a contract and have seen that they are greenlit for X amount more seasons. And they have decided, okay, let's dive into the lore some more. Let's do some more stuff. Because this is a bit far-fetched. If powers are able to be consciously and purposefully passed down, I can imagine that at some point there will be a villain that will know this fact. Because again, I feel like part of the reason why it's under wraps, if Wu does know, that I already spoke about why I don't think that he knows, I feel as though the first Manjutsu Master would have known, right? I feel as though the first Manjutsu Master would have known this fact. And because of the fact that it can be done while the person is still alive, I feel as though he didn't tell his sons, let his sons believe that elemental powers are hereditary, completely hereditary, so then they don't go spreading the information that elemental powers can just be given away at any time. Because if that became well-known information, then there would be villains who would take elemental masters and try and get them to hand over their powers, and would threaten them to try and take their powers. And I feel as though, in the future, at some point, if this is the direction that they were going with the powers of having it be so that it can be purposefully given away, I feel as though there will be, at some point, a villain, maybe it's Roz, maybe it's somebody else, who threatens somebody, who has somebody trapped, and threatens them to try and take their power. Being so for real, it will probably end up being Lloyd. It's always Lloyd. They will probably want Lloyd, and they will do what they can to make Lloyd give up his powers and give it to the villain. And I know how far-fetched that is, but that is just a theory. That is just a off the cuff theory that I came up with just now. It would be very interesting to see. I think it'd be cool. Honestly, like, I know that it's very tiring to see so much focus on Lloyd, but let's be so for real. He's a main character. He's the main character. It sucks that Kai was set up to be the main character at the beginning of the show and then has such little character development and focus, but I feel as though it would be deserved if out of all of the ninja, out of anybody with any elemental power, that Lloyd would be the one that a villain would kidnap in some way, trap in some way, and try and steal his powers. It happened before, it can happen again. And I feel as though it would be very interesting if the narrative took the route of you can't take it back, there's no take backsies, there's no give back. I feel as though that would be very interesting, and it would be a very compelling villain. Those are my thoughts. Comment down below what you think. If you think that I'm nuts, then you can say that. If you like my theory, you can add on to it. You can make your own theories in the comments. You can also tell me what you think of Dragons Rising Season 4. Hopefully I should be watching it today. But yeah, those are just my thoughts before I watch the new season. But yeah, I hope you have a good day, good morning, good night, good rest, good whatever you're about to do. And yeah, have a good day.